Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to this special show Farm to Fashion that we are hosting at Textiles India 2017 in Gandhinagar in Gujarat. Textiles India 2017 is touted to be India's first B2B global level event in the textile space to showcase India's prowess to the rest of the world. What's really the potential of the Indian textile sector? What will it take for India to become the fashion design capital of the world? How is GST going to change the game? And really, how can we revive our dying arts and handicrafts while marching ahead with technology in this textile sector? To answer all of these questions and more, I'm joined by a very eminent panel today. Starting from my extreme left, Sudhir Dhingra, CMD of Orient Craft, Pushpa Subramaniam, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Textiles, and Sunil Sethi, President of the Fashion Design Council of India. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, Pushpa. Thank you so much for taking out time to be on the panel today. Pushpa, would you like to take us through what has happened over the last 3 days? I believe 65 MOUs have been signed with different countries and companies as well as government bodies.
That's right. Textiles India 2017 has been one of the biggest events that the ministry has organized over the last 6 to 7 decades. We are very happy that we had participation from over 104 countries. We had buyers from all of these countries, ranging from countries in Latin America to our biggest trading partners like the US, China, South Korea. We had 6 states who have very closely collaborated with the ministry and the industry to make this event happen.
So let's talk a little bit about the potential of the Indian textile sector that you have been talking about at this event. What are the key focus areas that the government is going to be catalyzing for the next couple of years?
Textiles, from the government's point of view, has been a focus sector for the last 1 year in particular, where its potential for generating employment has been recognized, and government had come out with a special package to promote investments, to promote exports, and I think we are already seeing results of this initiative last year. So in continuation of that, I think this event will also promote the employment intensive segments. It in fact has very successfully showcased the power of the industry here, the capability here.
But in terms of price competitiveness, and Sudhir, I'd like you to comment on that. As far as the garment sector in India is concerned, it's not as competitive as, say, a Bangladesh is. So what is it that's missing, and what is it that India needs to do to compete far better?
The biggest challenge that we face is lack of competitiveness, and that comes from a couple of factors. Firstly, we must recognize the fact that garmenting as a business, 25 to 35% of the cost comes from the labor. And raw materials are raw materials, whether they're in Bangladesh or Africa or anywhere else in the world. So everybody is competing on labor and, of course, innovation. But the price is determined by the labor cost. And then several countries who have gained unfair advantage through FTAs with the big importing countries like USA, UK, Europe and others. Now, and these duties are anywhere between, let's say, 10% to 29%. If we do an FTA, in my opinion, let's say UK, Europe and America, today if our garmenting business is about 17 billion, it will go and grow 3 to 4 times with no other change. That's how strong this can be. And for us to sort of recognize that, okay, every billion brings in about 25 lakh new jobs. What a wonderful opportunity.
From a government perspective, would you like to respond to that?
Let me tell you what we've done. Insofar as labor problems is concerned, the cost of labor, 2 major, unprecedented policy decisions have been taken, which are not easy. This is firstly that the government would pick up the employer's contribution, complete 12%, for the new workforce they take. This is again to help the employers. so that their costs reduce on the wage front. Secondly, I think something more useful, industry seasonal, their demands are seasonal. So they hire the workforce, and many a time they face problems because of the labor laws. So what we've done is with the permitting fixed term employment for this sector, they can hire workers for the period they need, and they can contract. In a sense, the contract employment is permitted now, while ensuring that the workers are treated like formal workers. The disadvantage they face in terms of duties, and your point that FTAs need to be finalized with our major trading partners like EU and the UK. Given that this is a time-taking procedure, negotiations with these two groups, what the government has done to benefit the sector is to reduce this handicap that they face by providing rebate of state levies for all the exports they do. So this, in a sense, gives them a 5% advantage, which they earlier weren't getting. So I think this is a major step.
Okay, so I'm going to shift gears right now and shift the focus from manufacturing to design, and I'd like Mr. Sethi to jump in here. What will it take for India to become a fashion design capital of the world? For centuries, it's been Paris, it's been Milan. We are always the executors and the manufacturers. Is there dearth of innovation, or what is the challenge?
We are very well known for product development, be it in apparel, be it in craft, be it in carpets. We are focusing on one part of that, which is product development, and there is no other person who's as flexible and as talented as Indian exporters are and Indian manufacturers are. As far as Indian fashion designers are concerned, what's happened is ours is a nascent industry. We're only the first time everybody in the country was talking about boutiques and fashion designers was hardly 10-15 years ago. And even in this time, we've had 3 or 4 very important names who've made it there. If Paris is considered the hub, and in the Paris Fashion Week, we already have 2 of our fashion designers who've been showcasing season after season. It requires more than almost 1 crore just to be part of one fashion week in Paris. And both Manish Arora as well as Rahul Mishra have been doing that. And our talent there in the terms of fashion is, people have started to realize that we have a USP. But that USP needn't be on only design. It needs to be on different ranges we come for. So every single store in the world who has a multi-designer store will like to take an Indian designer. Why? Because we have a USP of textile. The ministry did a beautiful fashion show here. But what people came out saying was that the beauty of the fashion show was the beauty of the Indian textile. So what we have inherently is such great textile that nobody else will be able to compete with us. And I think that's important, that instead of just focusing on design, if we focus on innovation in our textile, if we focus on the product development we are doing, we're going to make it.
All right, so on that note, let's take a short break at this point, but stay with us, because on the other side, the conversation continues with our eminent experts on farm to fashion that's coming to you from Textiles India 2017 in Gandhinagar. Welcome back to our special show, Farm to Fashion, that's coming to you from Gandhinagar from the Textiles India 2017 event. I'm joined here by a set of eminent experts who are charting the way forward for India's textiles and apparel sectors. So, talking of textiles and how India's textiles really are symbolic of India's diversity. And to really showcase that diversity to the world, Pushpa, we need good center-state collaboration. And historically, center-state collaborations have not been the best in most sectors. So, particularly for the textile sector, what is it that your government is doing?
As I was mentioning, for Textiles India itself, we've got 6 states who have contributed majorly with all resources to make this a grand success. If you look at even the textile policies of states, the complementarity between the national framework and the state-specific policies is something amazing to see. whether it is a fiscal incentive we give, a subsidy we give, or the labor reforms we do, they join in with their own similar aligned policies so that textiles can grow. When you look at handlooms and handicrafts, which is traditionally something that the states are also very, very focused about, we again see a similar alignment, a similar collaboration. States like Tamil Nadu, you have Orissa, you have West Bengal doing so well in promoting handlooms. And we see a surge in the branding initiative that we have taken from Government of India. Since the last 2 years, we have the India Handloom brand. So this again promotes their own policies to preserve, conserve and promote their unique handloom.
In fact, and handlooms and handicrafts for that matter really play a huge role as far as the Indian textile sector is concerned. And Mr. Sethi, do you think these need to be marketed better to the world? I mean, there have been changes in the recent past, but today what's the biggest challenge in really showcasing India's prowess in this sector to the whole world?
One important thing that's happening is, which was not happening earlier, at least in the fashion industry and the handicraft industry, is that we are going out to all the international fairs. So you name a fair in the world and you will see an Indian delegation there. You will see the councils which are set up by the Ministry of Textile take up space irrespective, and there's always an exporter who's waiting to be part of that. So I think that is the very first and a very important step to show brand India. And after that, I think the government can only do that much. It is up to the individual companies. One important question which keeps coming back to us is, how come you don't have an Indian international brand as yet? So, that is all because we have not scaled up, or our quality yet has to reach some place, or we have to go and kind of get into those marketplace in a way. And I think that happens, I think it's an exporter, it's private companies, it's bigger corporations who have to do that. As far as government...
Would you like to add to that, Mr. Dhingra?
An active collaboration between export houses and some of these, I would say, art and craft clusters is very critical at this point, and I think as the government promotes this, most of us today have very large design workforce. Within my own company, I have 900 people who do nothing but product development. We do almost 1,000 new samples every day. Now that's how we sustain our business. It is required. Now maybe if we can take this step forward to say, because we have customers coming to us every day. Now, how we can collaborate with the government and bring various, fabrics and accessories into our showrooms, into our own design studios throughout the industry, and then promote it. I think that should be the next step, which is commercializing it.
Right.
And it's not hard to do.
But are you seeing more and more exporters of your size really collaborating with artists at the grassroots level?
No, I must admit that is not happening.
But why is that? Is
there
a lack of demand?
Most of the fabrics that are coming out need to be of the standard, which means unless we start to initiate and start interacting with these weaving communities and set the standards of colors and dyes and finishes, and a lot of these fabrics need to be refinished. We will have to bring all these fabrics to the international level of testing, which can be done through an active collaboration, and I'm sure the Textile Ministry can promote. And
I'd like you to respond to that. Under the Skill India program, are we keeping in mind global demands? Are we training our workforce to really, aim for the globe and not really produce products at a local level?
In response to what he's been mentioning, I'd like to just make 2 points. Firstly, NIFT. NIFT is a premier fashion institute supported by the government by a statute, which now has 16 campuses. And it produces, I think, quality students and really supports the apparel industry, as I understand, in getting new designs. And he himself was mentioning he employs a whole host of them to beat the competition overseas. A second thing we're doing is the fact that we have a rich variety of traditional designs and weaves, which is part of our heritage. And these are spread across hundreds of clusters in several states. And a very good initiative, I think we have launched in recent times, is to attach famous designers to each of these clusters so that they mutually benefit. So the strategy now is to improve livelihoods of these weavers through better forward and backward linkages and provision of improved infrastructure in all these different elements. From
and what's the kind of impact you've seen?
We've already done about 30 to 40 clusters. We've got some famous designers attached to some of them.
Is it, I'd like to know that, because at the center of this whole ecosystem is the weaver, and in the end, is he getting a much better lifestyle than he did a couple of years back?
Absolutely. In fact, Mr. Sethi was mentioning about the Grand Fashion Show that we had as part of this event. And we get the weavers who actually did the designs to walk along with the fashion designers. So they get acknowledgement, they get a market space. So we think it's a very promising initiative. Early days, as I said, 6 to 8 months ago. So we need to see how these results will pan out, but I'm sure they're going to be very, very beneficial to the weavers.
And fortunately, we don't have to struggle with prices so much in the fashion industry, because the margins are slightly higher than an exporter. So it's important that what's important for the fashion designer is that he gets from the weaver, if he's able to get those skills that he has and come up with new and new techniques for product, he pays much more for the fabric. When he pays more for the fabric, at the end of it, who benefits out of it? The weaver themselves.
If I could just mention something about the potential of Indian handlooms. During this event, Textiles India, we've had an MOU with the government of Australia, and where the fashion industry there would like to collaborate and promote Indian designs in their garment manufacturing. So I think there's a whole lot of promise, lots of avenues available.
That's wonderful to hear. And as we wrap up, I'd like one final comment from each one of you on the farm to fashion vision of the Prime Minister, that one step that you think should be taken immediately to realize this ambitious vision. Mr. Dhingra.
I would stick to my original point, and I think that's a very, very relevant point. Although Pushpaji's mentioned a few benefits that's given, some of those are likely to be dented through the GST regime, as it seems to us. But it's not enough. I must say it is not enough. We have to understand that we are going to fight a tiger, and we can't fight it with bare hands. That we are losing market share, and we need to recognize that without actively engaging ourselves with the importing countries, and this is the right time. If we sign an FTA, I can tell you with all my over 40 years of experience, you will see a dramatic change. You will see this 45 million employment go up to 160 in the next 3 to 4 years. That is the power of this single thing. I think we need to understand that the customer is very stressed with price.
Right. And
it's price first, then everything else. We have to.
Okay, work on those FTAs first. That's Mr. Dhingra's solution.
For me, I would say Textiles India is just the beginning. And it's a very promising, positive, collaborative journey ahead and only upward. And I'm very confident that we will really be one of the global players in textile sector over the next 1 decade.
All right, Mr. Sethi.
Farm to fiber to fabric to fashion to foreign, there is one thing which is missing, which is, I feel, a B, which is brand building. So it's exactly what you said. I do agree with you that in all this process of all the Fs that we've mentioned, from farm to fashion, I think brand building should be one of the key things that we should concentrate on, both domestically and for our international market.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for those wonderful insights. And with that, it's a wrap of this special show, Farm to Fashion, that's coming to you from Textiles India 2017. As the Union Textiles Minister Smriti Irani said, it's a golden era for the development of textiles in India. And we at Network 18 will, of course, keep an eye out on that and keep bringing you news and updates. Thanks for joining in. Goodbye.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.